Good morning. I'm Julie Barrows, and I'm a supervisory research chemist in FDA's Office of Cosmetics and Colors. Today I will be talking to you about the color additives used in foods. First, I'll give you the definition of a color additive. Next, I'll discuss the specific color additives permitted in foods. After that, I'll tell you how to find out which color additives are in your foods. I'll then describe how FDA enforces the requirements for color additives. I'll provide some regulatory information, including FDA's pre-approval process for color additives. And finally, I'll provide some resources for more information. So let's find out what color additives are and how they are regulated. Under the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, a color additive is any material that can impart color to a food, drug, cosmetic, or medical device. Food includes both human and animal food. FDA has regulatory responsibilities for all of these products when they are marketed in the U.S. FDA must pre-approve the color additives used in FDA-regulated products. Color additives are divided into different categories. Some of them are water-soluble dyes. Others are extracts, spices, and mineral compounds. Lakes are a type of insoluble pigment formed by chemically reacting water-soluble dyes with precipitants and substrata. Mixtures are color additives combined with other components by simple mixing. So why do we use food coloring? Now that you've thought about this, you may realize that people associate certain colors with certain flavors. Although most consumers are aware that foods with bright or unnatural colors usually contain food coloring, far fewer people know that oranges and salmon also may contain color additives for masking their natural variations. Seasonal changes and the effects of processing and storage often make it commercially advantageous to maintain the colors expected or preferred by the consumer. FDA does not consider any color additives to be natural because all color additives are artificially added to foods. Food ingredients that contribute their own natural colors are not color additives. Examples are strawberries, green or red peppers, and chocolate. Color additives must be petitioned for FDA approval, and this is usually done by product or color additive manufacturers. FDA lists approved color additives in the Code of Federal Regulations. Color additives are listed for their specific uses, such as in foods. FDA considers their probable exposure from use, their cumulative effect in the diet, their safety as evaluated by qualified experts, and the availability of analytical methods to assure their purity. The FD&C color additives are synthetic organic dyes and pigments. In this context, synthetic means man-made and organic means made of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and sulfur. In other words, organic here does not mean the term used by the USDA for organic products. The FD&C color additives are required to be batch certified by FDA. This means FDA analyzes a sample from each new batch in order to assure conformity to the color additive's purity requirements, including strict limitations for lead, arsenic, and mercury. An important characteristic of these color additives is that not much is needed to achieve the desired coloring in a product. These are the common names for the FD&C color additives. Some of you may recognize the dye names. FD&C red number 40 is most commonly used, followed by FD&C yellow number 5, FD&C yellow number 6, and FD&C blue number 1. FD&C blue number 2 is less commonly used because it is similar to the dye used in blue jeans and is air and light sensitive. FD&C green number 3 is less commonly used because green colors are usually made by mixing FD&C blue number 1 and FD&C yellow number 5. The non-FD&C color additives are generally derived from plant or mineral sources, with the exception of one insect source. They may be synthesized or chemically processed. These color additives are not required to be batch certified, but they still must conform to purity requirements, including, again, strict limitations for lead, arsenic, and mercury. In some cases, relatively large amounts of these color additives may be needed to achieve the desired coloring. Here are some examples of the non-FD&C color additives permitted in foods. Cochineal extract and carmine are the ones that are obtained from an insect. Mica-based pearlescent pigments are sparkly. Fruit juice and vegetable juice can come in many colors. Now I would like you to respond to this question. How many color additives are permitted in foods marketed in the U.S.? Choose A, B, or C. I see a lot of you are coming up with B, which is the correct answer, approximately 50, but the list is growing. These are some recently listed color additives. Mica-based pearlescent pigments are insoluble pigments that are manufactured by depositing titanium salts on mica, followed by high heat. Their color depends on the thickness of the titanium layer. They create a sparkle effect in foods and have been permitted in cereals, frostings, candies, and chewing gum since 2006. They have recently been permitted for use in distilled spirits, which are alcoholic beverages. Spirulina extract is a new color additive as of 2013 and is the aqueous extract of the bacterium Arthrospira platensis. The principal coloring component is an organic compound called phycocyanin. Spirulina extract may be used in candy, chewing gum, yogurt, desserts, and a few other products. Didn't move.
Try again.
It's not moving, sorry.
One more time.
Okay, no, one. Okay. FDA lists the permitted color additives in Title 21 of the Code of Federal Regulations, or CFR. The ones in Part 73 are the non-FD&C color additives. The ones in Part 74 are the FD&C color additives. The ones in Part 82 are the FD&C color additive lakes. Most other color additive requirements are in Parts 70, 71, 80, and 81. Now I'm going to tell you how to find out which color additives are in the foods you eat. Artificial coloring is required to be declared on all food labels. Consumers must be informed that artificial color has been added to a food product. The FD&C color additives must be declared by their listed names, such as FD&C Red Number 40, or by appropriate abbreviations, such as Yellow 5 Lake. Alternative names may be declared in parentheses, such as the European E numbers or color index numbers. Most non-FD&C color additives may be declared as artificial color or color additive or by their listed names. There are also some specific requirements for declaring color additives on food labels. In general, color additives do not have to be declared on the labels of butter, cheese, and ice cream. However, cochineal extract, carmine, and FD&C Yellow Number 5 are specifically required to be declared on all food labels because they are possible allergens or sensitizers. Now I'm going to talk about how FDA enforces the color additive requirements. FDA's enforcement actions are authorized by the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act and other applicable laws. They contain adulteration and misbranding provisions that apply to both domestic and imported products. Adulteration means a product is somehow unsafe. Misbranding means a product has not been labeled properly. Imported products only need to have the appearance of a violation in order for FDA to stop them from being marketed in the U.S., whereas domestic products need more evidence in order for FDA to take action. Here are some common color additive violations. The use of uncertified material always makes a product adulterated. Certified color additives must be properly declared on product labels by their listed names. Of course, non-permitted color additives may not be used in any products. Sometimes we find out in inspections that a color additive is declared on an ingredient label, but not on the finished product label. This is just a misbranding violation, except when cochineal extract, carmine, or FD&C yellow number 5 are not declared. Here are some non-permitted color additives that are permitted in foods in other countries. The main reason they are not permitted in the U.S. is that FDA has not been requested to list them by the color additive petition process. For example, anthocyanins are components of fruit juice and grape extracts, but FDA hasn't been asked to list anthocyanins separately. Curcumin is a component of turmeric, but FDA hasn't listed curcumin separately either. Vegetable carbon is permitted in foods in the EU, whereas FDA has listed FD&C black number 2, which is similar to vegetable carbon, for use in coloring cosmetics. Sometimes this is a problem for firms who want to import European products into the U.S. These are FDA's enforcement tools. FDA has many ways of letting domestic firms know that their products are not in compliance with FDA's requirements. The agency has fewer tools for imported products, but one important one is to place products on import alerts, which means future products from a specific firm will always get FDA's attention. In summary, only approved and listed color additives may be used in FDA-regulated products marketed in the U.S. All color additives must comply with the requirements in their listing regulations, including purity requirements. Color additives must be used appropriately, and manufacturers must consult the listing regulations in order to do this. Certified material must be used in products when required. If you want to learn more about color additives, you can look on FDA's website. The summary of color additives is particularly useful. I hope you found this presentation to be informative and helpful. I am happy to answer questions.
Well, thank you, Julie. That was a most interesting and informative presentation. I learned so much from it. You do have one early question, and while we are waiting for additional questions, we will ask Julie to answer this question. Now, you may have answered it in your presentation, but anyway, the question says, since FDA certifies each FD&C batch, are manufacturers expected to confirm the purities and impurities of colors?
No, they are not. They do, by the way, because they want to make sure that the material that they send to us for certification is pure, because they don't like it when we deny certification to their material, which we do to about 1% of certified material does contain impurities that don't match our specifications. But they rely on us, though, for our analyses, because we have a lot of capability that not all manufacturers have. We have state-of-the-art instrumentation that we use, and so they're very grateful to our certification procedures.
Thank you. And then another question is, do these color rules apply to herbal and dietary supplements that are imported?
The only materials that may be used to impart color to products have to be listed, have to be pre-approved by FDA and listed in the Code of Federal Regulations. There are a few, what you might call herbal. Annatto is an example of a color additive that is obtained from a plant material that is allowed to be used as a color additive. Henna, you may have heard of, is allowed to be used as a hair color in cosmetics, but it's not allowed actually in the United States to be used on the skin. So the point of color additives is they first have to be petitioned for use as color additives. The FDA has to be petitioned for this use, and then FDA evaluates the safety of the color additive. And then finally, when we're satisfied, then we will list it in our Code of Federal Regulations.
The other question may be answered now, or it may be answered later on, because it says, how does the color certification process compare with the GRAS notification process?
Okay, well, the color certification process is a formal process that manufacturers are required to pay FDA for the certification procedures that we conduct. GRAS notification is more of a sort of like a letter that they send to the FDA, but I agree you'll learn more about the GRAS notification process later. In the certification process, they actually send us samples from their batches, and we chemically analyze them, so it's a bigger deal.
Okay, for our color, this is the next question, and we're watching the time for our next speaker, but yes, we can take a couple more. For our color additive, how is the maximum level permitted by food type?
The way we look at that is usually there are no limitations on how much a color additive may be used in a food, but there are limitations for how effective that color will be, and so we rely on good manufacturing processes, and that's more how it works. We don't set limits for how much color. It's more up to the manufacturers to determine what shade they actually want in their food.
All right, this one is one that a person needs more clarification on. Is black color from vegetable carbon permitted in food in the U.S.?
No, that is not permitted. That is a non-permitted color additive in the U.S. It is permitted, however, in the European Union. So we have not been asked to list it, and therefore it is not permitted.
Okay, we have time for other questions. Is it a violation to add black cherry juice to food as a colorant?
No, that is not a violation because black cherry juice would be considered a fruit juice. So I would say no. People need to make sure that they label their products appropriately though, because since black cherry juice is not a listed color additive, you would not declare it as contains black cherry juice as a color on your label. You would need to say artificial color added, or you could say fruit juice.
So there's the questions are just rolling in, and they're very interesting questions. There's one more question that says, has a color additive been disapproved by FDA due to new information coming to light?
Yes, actually over the years since they started being, 1960 was a big turning point for color additives because the government, the FDA, made what was called a provisional list of the color additives in use at the time. And in order to be permanently listed, the color additive manufacturers were required to petition the agency with safety data. And that is, if you look at the provisional list, you'll see that a lot of the color additives on the provisional list are no longer permitted because they were not found to be safe. You can find information about what we call delisted color additives in 21 CFR Part 81.
All right, we have another question. If the ingredient list on a label, this goes to labeling again, lists only the words color added, how can we be sure it is a permitted color? And is there an audit process?
There is no audit process except at the, a lot of times when we will see a food, certainly at the import stage, if there's a suspicion on the part of the FDA evaluators, they will send it to their own district laboratories and analyze it, and a lot of times that's how we find out that a non-permitted color additive is being used. But when a label says color added, that means that a Part 73 color additive has been used in the product, because as you recall, the only Part 73 color additives that are actually required to be declared by their listed names are cochineal extract and carmine.
All right, we'll take one last question, and that question is, are these petitions mostly reviewed by toxicologists?
Toxicologists are important members of the team that review petitions. The other people on the teams are usually chemists and then exposure assessment chemists. So the chemists, the regular chemists evaluate a new color additive for its, what we call the identity. In other words, what exactly is this material chemically? Then the exposure assessor will find out how much color the manufacturer is intending to use in products. What will make that product a good, have the color that the manufacturer has in mind. And then finally, the toxicologist will use that exposure assessment to determine the safety of that, the use of that product at that level.
We are so happy that Julie Barrows came and gave a webinar this morning because she's so knowledgeable of this topic. I want to thank her very much for giving us this presentation. And now we will get ready to set up for the next one on chemical contaminants. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.